Legends, I hope you're all fantastic. The legends at Synergy have just announced this, the 2CP preamp module. People have been asking for this one for a long time, and yeah, it does the thing in a big way. So what I want to do to start is I put together a little track which demonstrates what I consider are some of the classic tones this particular preamp design is associated with. Then I'm going to grab my favorite guitar, I'll just kind of do my thing and dial in some sounds that I like, and we'll hear it with my Strat later in the video for some clean sounds. Let's go. Hope you enjoyed that little track. Like I said, that's just my take on what I consider a few classic tones with this particular preamp. And I want to dial in my sound now. So I've got my favorite guitar here. This is my PRS SC245 in drop C. It has the stock 245 pickups in it. And if you've never played one of these preamp styles before, and you just come in and you set all the EQ controls at noon, you set the 2 gain controls at noon, and you play it, you might be a little bit underwhelmed because it sounds like this. Which is kind of the opposite of the tones that I just demonstrated. And the reason is that the bass, middle, and treble controls on this particular preamp design are before the main gain stages. So the way I like to think about these are you can use these controls to shape like the feel of your distortion. So I like to turn the bass all the way down, crank the treble up, and start with the mids quite low immediately. This is a whole lot more articulate, but it is just kind of lacking some oomph and some chunk. So in order to get that oomph and chunk back, you can use the graphic EQ. Now you can set this to in, which means it will operate on both channels, or you can set it to auto, which means it will only work on the lead channel. And I've given it the kind of classic V style shape in here. You have 5 little sliders that are accessible. You've got 80 Hertz, 240 Hertz, 750 Hertz, 2200, and 6600. And adding the EQ in gives you this. So you get all the beef there. You can kind of sculpt it. If you really want to scoop it out, pull that 750 slider down. I like to pull out a bit of 240 as well, which gives you this. A little bit too much though. Let's pull that 750 slider back up a little bit and the 240 slider. And then the 6600 slider is really, I guess, just kind of like your extreme presence control. There is a presence control on here we can play around with, which does this. But you'll find the 6600 slider is far more effective for that. All just kind of depends on what you like. For the main rhythm guitar tones in the track that you heard, I had it cranked up all the way. So it was pretty sizzly, but it really helps cut through a dense mix. I might just bring that up a little bit. Then you've got these two gain controls. So the volume control, which is a volume for the clean channel, is an input gain control. And you've got your lead gain control, which is just going to give you more distortion. So you turn that up and it gets way saturated. Pretty awesome, right? Then you can kick in the bright control on there, which again is going to interact with this input gain control. So I like the bright on for rhythm tones. And then for lead tones, you can kick in this lead shift, which changes the mid-range frequency on there. I'll just bring the treble control down. So kicking that in just takes everything to 11 if you like lead. And they're pretty much the settings that I used with my JP7 for the lead on the track that you heard. So really so much that you can do to shape the tone here with these controls. You know, if you want a gooier lead sound, bring the bass and the mid-range up and back off some treble, you get this. So much sustain going on there. Or of course, like I said, you can bring that lead shift control out. You can crank the treble up, bring the bass down and play around with the graphic. But like I said, I'm probably the sort of person that finds the one tone on here and just rolls with it. So you've already heard that tone a bunch, but what I think is interesting as well is because if you're using this with a Syn 5050, for example, you can emulate stuff like impedance mismatch, which means you can run like the 8 ohm output of this into a 16 ohm cab, and it's kind of going to change the way the mid-range interacts. I should actually give you a little demo of that. So I'll play you a quick little sequence with the settings that I've got at the moment. Then I'll do the old reach around on the rack and I'll change the impedance to 8 ohms. And then you can hear what that sounds like. It's just going to give you like more mid-range and more of that kind of classic boogie lead thing. So this is perfectly matched impedance. So I think I'm going 16 and 16. That's pretty subtle tonally, but it definitely changes the feel there. And impedance mismatching is kind of a classic trick that a lot of players who used old school non-master volume tube amps would use in order to just kind of get some more flexibility. I don't think it's something you need to use, given this is such a versatile machine when it comes to the way you can kind of shape the gain to suit the guitar that you're playing, but it's kind of fun. Nice little tidbit in there. All right, let's hear this with a clean sound now. I'll grab my Strat and we'll go to the clean channel. I've got the graphic EQ set on auto, which means it's going to be off on the clean channel, but when I switch over to the lead channel, the graphic will be there. Very, very handy little function right there. Basically, I just want to play around with what I would consider like the kind of core boogie clean tone, which is just a big fat clean that you can kind of push into breakup. And then we'll play around with the bright switch and the shift switch on here. At the moment, they are both in the down position. This is my 1977 Fender Strat with Sir Michael Landau pickups. We'll start on the neck pickup, then I'll go to the neck and middle. The neck and middle is what I used for the clean intro on the track you heard at the start of this video. So if you're going for that kind of 80s boogie clean and you've got either a Strat style guitar or a guitar with an HSS configuration, I think you'll really like this with the neck and middle combo with this clean channel. Let's just kick in the bright switch in case you want it even more sparkly. And then you can push it with the bright switch and that mid shift control on there and crank the volume up there. Now, one thing to keep in mind with this preamp, just like the original amp design, is that this volume control or gain control is essentially your input gain control. So when you're using the lead channel, wherever you set this is going to influence how much gain is being fed into the lead channel. So my personal preference would be to kind of set this somewhere around noon and use that shift control. I want a little bit more kind of fullness or a little bit of grit. Personally, I like it out. I also like the bright out, and you can of course play around with the EQ controls on there, but I'm pretty happy with where they are at the moment. Again, if we switch over to the lead channel now, this gain control here is going to be like my secondary gain control, so that if I want to, say, go for a crunchier sound, maybe using like the bridge pickup on a Strat, I could keep it quite low. And of course, you can see by pushing up that mid-range control there, the 750 slider, you're going to get a lot more kind of Santana mids. That's the way I would describe it. And especially if you play on whatever pickup you're on and roll down the tone control and kind of bring up the presence there. So let me do just that. I might go bridge pickup tone control this time because you heard it with the neck pickup tone down. So I go all the way down. Pretty cool. It almost gives you that cocked wah style effect on there. So that's the clean channel with a Strat, and then back to the red channel. The red channel is pretty addictive. Let me know what you all thought about this unit in the comments. Again, for such a small little device, it covers so much ground. If you've got a Synergy system, is this a unit you've been waiting for? I know a lot of people have been excited about this one. I've seen a lot of chatter about it. And for me, it immediately vaults into like the top 2 modules. I will probably spend most of my time with this and the Bogner Uberschall module in my Syn 2. I would love to hear what other people are using in their systems and whether this is something that they like. And before I go, feels like Synergy have kind of covered all the main bases that people want. So I'm just going to put a request in to anyone from Synergy who's watching this video. I think we need an 88 MP1 inspired Synergy module, because when I think of classic rack preamps, you know, I think of something like the Studio Series or the 2C Plus preamp. I think of stuff like the really clean preamps that are covered by stuff like the B-Man and the T-DLX, or the Bogner stuff that's already in the ecosystem. It would be so awesome to have that 88 MP1 channel covered somewhere in there. So yeah, if some people can talk to some other people and make that happen, it would make me, and I'm sure it will make a lot of other people really, really happy. But until then, I think this 2CP preamp module is going to make a lot of people very happy. Again, thank you to Synergy for sending me this unit to demo. It's not going back. I'm keeping this one. I absolutely love the way that it sounds. Hope you all have a fantastic day. Thanks so much for watching the video, and I'll see you next time.